Now let's look at the relationship between percents and fractions. So to start us off, the blank to 0.4 is 2/5. The fraction equivalent, I'm just going to abbreviate that, EQ, and the blank to 1/6 is 0.16, or the decimal equivalent. So the decimal to 1.6 is 0.16 repeating, and the fraction to 0.4 is 2/5. You may be wondering, well, how do you get there? So now let's look, how do we arrive at a percent if we are given a fraction? Well, if our denominator is 100, then it's very easy because we know that percent is a ratio of a number to 100. So 17/100ths, that's easy, that's 17%. And 8/100, again, that's easy, that's 8%. But what happens if our denominator is not 100? How do we go about finding out what that is going to be, or what our new percent's going to be based on that fraction? So what we're going to do is we are going to start viewing the fraction bar as a division sign. And that's really important that you recognize that the fraction bar means division. Means to divide. So we can view 3/10 as the same thing as 3 divided by 10. And if you don't know what that is, do that in your calculator, or you can do long division, it's up to you. But that gives me 0.3. Now I can use the skill I learned in the last lesson, move my decimal point 2 places. So it looks like my answer is going to be 30%. So what about 1/4? Well, that means 1 divided by 4. 1 divided by 4 gets me 0.25, which, when I move my decimal point 2 places, gets me 25%. So just make sure you're viewing that fraction bar as a division. So now you don't necessarily have to write that division problem, 5 divided by 8. Just do 5 divided by 8 in your calculator, and you're going to get decimal point 625. Move your decimal point 2 places, that's going to give me 62.5%. And what about this last one, 5/6? So that's going to be 5 divided by 6. So if we do that in our calculator, I get kind of a strange number. I actually get a repeating decimal. I get 0.83, and the 3 is repeating. So depending on how MyMathLab wants you to put it in to your or into the software, you might either have to write it as a fraction or a decimal. So this is going to be 83.3 repeating percent, or 83 1/3%. So it just kind of depends on the directions as to which answer you would put in. So now let's look at some of these, just looking at the relationship between all of them. Which ones do you think are going to be the easiest to do? I'm thinking, look at the percent. So I see that 30%. Remember, that's easy as a fraction. That means 30/100. Now if we simplify that, 30/100, we are going to get 3/10. We actually just did that problem a minute ago. So simplified fraction would be 3/10. If we want the decimal equivalent, remember we would look at moving our decimal point 2 places to the left, which would give me 0.30. So I think the ones that start off with the percent are going to be the easier problems. If they start you off with a decimal, it's really easy to take that decimal and make it a percent just by moving the decimal point. So that would be 25%. Because I moved my decimal point 2 places. Then taking the percent to the fraction, that's 25 over 100. If I reduce that, I get 1/4. So again, just deciding, which ones do you want to start off with. Like if I see this 7/8 down here at the bottom, I would divide 7 divided by 8. That gives me 0.875. Move my decimal point 2 places, and that's going to give me 87.5%.